Well. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Stack Bitcoin Show, your beginner-friendly guide to saving in Bitcoin. Today, we're going to talk about how to start and grow your Bitcoin stack in 2025. I know it's already May 14th, and you might be wondering to yourself, am I too late? Am I too late to Bitcoin in general? You know, maybe. We're going to talk about that. Stick around. But first, let's get into the first segment of the show that we like to call the Bitcoin Strength. Today, the price of Bitcoin is $103,555.55. That's a lot of fives. You can buy 966 Satoshis for a single dollar. What the heck is a Satoshi? A Satoshi is a fraction of a Bitcoin. Just like a dollar is made up of 100 cents, a Bitcoin is made up of 100 million Satoshis. Okay, why is that important to mention on every single episode? Because when you look at the price of Bitcoin at $103,000, you might be thinking to yourself, damn, I'm priced out. There's no way I can afford that. I can't save up $103,000 in this day and age, in this environment. But don't worry, you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin all at once. You can buy it in fractions, right? Like I said, you can buy 966 fractions of a Bitcoin for $1 today, right? Let's say you're walking down the street minding your own business. You look down, you see a penny, you pick it up, and all the day that penny will be worth. Today, anyway, about 9.66 Satoshis. You round it down to the whole number, so about 9 Satoshis for a single penny today. All right, it's important to highlight those things because I need you to understand that you don't save up to buy a Bitcoin. You save in Bitcoin, okay? And every bit of value that you store away in Bitcoin now becomes shielded from inflation and enjoys the properties of even having a whole Bitcoin, right? Just 0.00001 Bitcoin is treated the same as one whole Bitcoin on the Bitcoin network. So you reap all the benefits of having a whole coin or however much coins, right? Somebody with 100 Bitcoins enjoys the same benefits as you with 0.001 Bitcoin, right? Or 0.00001 Bitcoin, one Satoshi, right? So it's really good. It's rules without rulers. It's fair for everybody. It's a great system. Aussie HB in the house. Round of applause from a live studio audience for Aussie HB. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for tuning in today. Today we're going to talk about how to start and how to grow your Bitcoin stack in 2025. Let's round off this Bitcoin strength and get into the most important thing before we talk about how to start and how to grow your Bitcoin stack. Let's talk about why we should even do it, right? Why should we even do that, guys? Come on. Why we stack? Why we stack? Why do we save in Bitcoin? Why do we go and save in Bitcoin? What does it do for us? What's the benefit of holding Bitcoin instead of holding paper dollars, right? Pesos, euros, yen, whatever. What's the benefit of saving in Bitcoin instead of saving in government money? Why should I do that? Well, here's the benefit of it. It's very simple. When you save in government money, whatever government money, those governments can print more of that money willy-nilly, as much as they need to spend, right? When they do that, they grow the money supply of that currency, right? I'll give you the example with $100 of currency. Let's say that there's no money in the world and the only money that exists is $100. I give you $50, I keep $50. So now we each have half of the value of the economy. So you have $50, I have $50. Your $50 represents 50% of the economy. My $50 represents 50% of the economy, right? Now, what would be a way for me to take some of your purchasing power, right, and put it in my pocket? Well, I could grow the money supply without you even noticing that you got poorer. So now instead of only being $100 in existence, I can grow the money supply to $200. And now I have $150 and you still have $50. You don't feel that you got poorer because in your bank account, you still see $50, right? But your $50 now only represents 25% of the overall money supply. So you got debased by half of the value. You got robbed blind without even me having to go into your house, into your safe, into your mattress, into your backyard where you buried your money. I don't have to do any of that. All I gotta do is expand the money supply and debase you. Okay? This is being done day after day, continuously and relentlessly by all governments. Some more than others, but still they all do it. Okay? This is inflation. Inflation is the most sophisticated, most successful mass tool of theft ever created. and most of the people in the economy, most of the people in the world believe that inflation is necessary, right? So not only has it been the most successful con, the most successful way to steal from people, but they've gone so far as to convince people that it's good for them, right? The goal for the US is to get to 2% inflation, right? We probably won't ever get there, but that's still saying that you're okay with being debased, being stolen from at 2% year over year, right? That's crazy. It's crazy talk, okay? Inflation is theft, and that's why we stack, okay? Another way to look at this is, why do we save in Bitcoin? We save in Bitcoin because saving in Bitcoin is like traveling back in time and giving yourself a perpetually increasing retroactive raise for the hours you've already worked for as long as you hold a Bitcoin that represents those hours. That is why we stack. And now we can move on to talk about how to start and grow your Bitcoin stack. Let's go. Shout out and round of applause from the live studio audience for Mr. Hard Huddle. Also for Aussie HB, I got him earlier, but what up, Hard Huddle? I lowered my camera a little bit to be more at eye level with me, and I'm really focusing today on trying to get more eye contact going with the camera. Does this make you feel uncomfortable? Does this make you feel uncomfortable? Because it makes me feel super uncomfortable. So just so you know, you're not the only one that feels uncomfortable. I feel uncomfortable too. All right. Anyway, I feel like I got to make more eye contact to go eye to eye. I watched a couple of my videos, yesterday. I watched a couple of my live streams, and I'm trying to criticize myself and improve the show little by little. And I think we're making a little bit of progress. Okay. This little lowering of the camera might help. And also a little bit more eye contact is in order, right? So let's keep the show rocking. Now let's talk about how to start and grow your Bitcoin stack in 2025. It's not that difficult, guys. It's not that difficult, okay? Let's say you're new to the scene, trying to figure out how to buy some Bitcoin. There's exchanges out there that will sell you Bitcoin. And really, truly, I guess it doesn't really matter what exchange you use, right? But there's exchanges that are preferred because they're not going to try to sell you altcoins and random coins that are really going to be a distraction from you getting to Bitcoin, okay? It's one of the pitfalls is people start getting into Bitcoin and they get sidetracked by going into altcoins thinking they're going to get more for their money, even though they're not, okay? So Bitcoin exchanges I recommend. If you're watching, guys, put your Bitcoin exchange that you recommend, that you've had good experiences with, in the chat. The one I use here on the show is the Strike exchange, the Strike app, Strike wallet, Strike app. I use them. They're easy to use, and their fees are reasonable. If you can set it to automatically buy Bitcoin at a certain frequency, like you set your DCA to automatically do it, they don't charge you a fee after I think you've done that for a couple of, I forget how many transactions. But after so many transactions, they stop charging you a fee for the purchase. And then when you set up your withdrawal to your cold wallet, as long as you do it with the lowest priority, they don't charge you a fee for that either. So if you could set it up with Strike and get your wallet fully set up and automatically making those purchases every day or every week or every month, however your frequency is. I've seen people even do it every hour. It's crazy, but it's kind of cool. Set yours up, and then you do your withdrawal, like I said, at the lowest priority. You don't have to pay any fees, and you maximize the amount of Bitcoin you get for the per dollar invested. So it's pretty good, right? And that's pretty much how it starts, right? It's pretty basic. You download the Strike app. You set up your bank account with the Strike app so that the Strike app can pull money from your bank account, and you buy Bitcoin like I do here on the show every Monday through Friday, right? We buy here daily, Monday through Friday, anywhere from $20 to $80, and we track it, and we continue to grow the stack, right? And it's pretty straightforward. It's really super easy. Once you start stacking, you get to a certain amount of Bitcoin. Let's say you get to 0.001 Bitcoin or 0.01 Bitcoin. Then it's time to start thinking about withdrawing that Bitcoin off of the exchange, okay? And into a wallet that you have the keys for, into a self-custody wallet, or a wallet that's not in an exchange. Because remember, as long as your Bitcoin is on an exchange, the Bitcoin network doesn't know that it's yours. It assumes it belongs to the exchange. So if something were to happen to the exchange, you have no recourse to go to the Bitcoin network and ask for your Bitcoin, because they're gonna say, well, no, you don't have the keys for it. The keys belong to the exchange that went out of business, and that Bitcoin is theirs, not yours, right? So you have to use it. You don't have to use the exchange, but it's the easiest way to get Bitcoin. You have to use an exchange. You buy the Bitcoin. Once you buy the Bitcoin, it's in your account. You have to wait like a cooling off period of maybe like 4 to like 11 days, depends on the exchange, for your funds from your bank account to clear to the exchange. Once that clears, that makes the Bitcoin you bought eligible to be withdrawn. Then you go to the Bitcoin, your Bitcoin account on that exchange. You withdraw that money into your wallet that you have the keys for, and you're set. At that point, if you don't move that Bitcoin again for a while, if you don't touch it, it's not going to cost you anything to hold it for a day, a month, a year, 100 years. It won't cost you anything extra, right? And therein lies part of the power of saving in Bitcoin, is that once you have it in your custody, in your wallet, it doesn't leak value. It doesn't leak value in the form of like maintenance fees on your bank account, or taxes for owning it. Like you get a tax every year for owning property, like real estate, right? Or insurance to own it. Like you get taxed insurance for like owning cars or real estate, right? It's not subject to natural disasters. Like if a hurricane happens, and as long as you have your key safe and your hardware device safe, an earthquake is not going to destroy your Bitcoin, right? A fire, I guess, could destroy your Bitcoin if you don't have your devices backed up or your seed phrase backed up, but that's a different story. But an earthquake, a flood, a natural disaster is not going to go in and physically burn or destroy your Bitcoin, right? Because it doesn't live in real space. It's a digital asset, right? The best part of it, though, is that since it's a digital asset, you don't have any of the pitfalls of a physical asset. So it can't be stolen from you, which is really cool, right? In order for somebody to steal your Bitcoin from you, they'd have to convince you to give them the keys, or convince you to actually send them the Bitcoin. Like they can't brute force the Bitcoin network to steal your Bitcoin. Like they could brute force a safe to steal your gold. Like they could brute force your front door to steal your safe in your house or something, right? Anyway, it's a really cool way to save. And on top of that, the best part of it is that the value that you set aside in Bitcoin becomes separate and away from the depreciating dollar. And as you'll see in our stack recap section, the value of your savings starts to go up in value in terms of dollar, because it reflects the true purchasing power of dollar. As the purchasing power of the dollar starts to go down, or continues to go down, it takes more and more of those weaker dollars to buy the same amount of Bitcoin. So your Bitcoin becomes more and more valuable the longer you hold it, right? And just by holding that Bitcoin, you're becoming wealthier, because it's increasing your purchasing power. And what is wealth? It's an abundance of purchasing power, right? If you have more purchasing power, you have more options. You have more things you can do. You have more things you can not do. Like you don't have to go to work all the time, right? If you have enough purchasing power, you can choose what to do with your time instead of having to trade your time for currency to be able to just live, right? So anyway, that's why we stack. Did I already say why we stack? I think we already said why we stack. So let's keep it rocking. Let's jump into the next segment of the show. This is where we show you that we've actually been doing the thing, walking the walk, not just talking the talk like we do here on the show. We like to talk the talk here on the show for the first half, and then for the second half, we like to walk the walk. So here we go. This is our stack recap, because we don't only talk about stacking Bitcoin here Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Eastern. We actually do it. And here is the proof of stack. We are in the year 2025. Just so far this year, we've saved, where are we? We've saved $3,500 into Bitcoin. And it's grown about 14%. And what do I mean by it's grown? I still have the same amount of Satoshis, the same amount of Bitcoin. But in order for me to buy the same amount of Bitcoin in today's market with the value of today's dollar, it would cost me 14.35% more of today's weaker money to buy the same amount of Bitcoin. See what happens there? Right? Same thing in 2024, we're stacking about $20 a day. For the full year, we ended up saving about $7,345 and accumulating 0.1224217 Bitcoin. If we were to go and try to buy the same amount of Bitcoin today with today's weaker money, a little bit over a year later, not even over a year, about a year later, it would cost us 72.59% more of today's weaker dollars to buy the same amount of Bitcoin. See that? The purchasing power of the dollar has dropped so much that it's going to cost us 72% more of that weaker money to buy the same amount of Bitcoin, right? The prices of things go down in terms of Bitcoin. The prices of things go up in terms of dollars. So let me ask you a question. What would you save in? Would you save in dollars? That guarantees life will be harder and prices of things will go up for you continuously, relentlessly, until the day you die? Or do you save in Bitcoin, where you can guarantee that the prices of things in terms of Bitcoin will continue to go down for as long as you hold the Bitcoin, right? And I'm gonna show you that right now in a second. I have a spreadsheet. I have numbers. I'm not just talking out of my rear. Okay. All right. We started the show back on May 22nd, 2023. We bought $5 worth of Bitcoin. It got us 0.0018 Bitcoin. That Bitcoin is now worth $18.64. Overall, we've saved since the beginning of the show almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years next week. Make sure you come back and tune in. Almost 2 years, we've saved $14,309.98. Today, that 0.268 Bitcoin is worth about $27,000. In other words, if we were to go and try to buy the same amount of Bitcoin today, it would cost us 94% more of today's weaker dollars to buy the same amount of Bitcoin. Right? That is it in black and white, plain and simple. If you don't understand it, please ask a question. Leave a comment if you're watching the replay. I want to explain it to you. I want to help you understand it. Okay? Look at this. October 3rd, 2023. On that date, the price of Bitcoin, it would take me 49,603 Satoshis, fractions of a Bitcoin, to pay for that burrito of $13.70. That burrito today still costs $13.70. But in order for me to exchange some Bitcoin into dollars, I only need to pay 13,232 Satoshis. So the cost of the burrito in terms of dollars has remained the same, but the cost of that burrito since October 2023 has dropped in terms of Bitcoin by 73%. Could you imagine what your life would be like if the price of everything you buy, your rent, your insurance, your car payment, your food, your, I don't know, whatever, your hobbies, your gym membership, your expenses went down 73%, right? Like, this is no longer a theory. You're seeing the numbers on the screen. These are real numbers. Okay? Let's say back on January 1st, 2023, I mean, like today, the average mortgage, the average rent is $2,500 across the United States. Average, right? Well, back 2 years ago, $2,500 would have bought you 15.2 million Satoshis, 0.15 Bitcoin, right? If you were to buy $2,500 worth of Bitcoin for 2 consecutive months, that would have gotten you 0.3 Bitcoin. Today, that 0.3 Bitcoin, since now, in order to get $2,500 for the mortgage payment or the rent, it's only going to cost you 0.024 Bitcoin. Those 2 months worth of savings that you did 2 years ago will now cover a year of rent or mortgage payment for you, because now your mortgage is down in terms of Bitcoin 84% in the past 2 years. Do you understand how impactful that is, how powerful that is, right? Like, you, just by saving in Bitcoin and jumping onto the Bitcoin standard, basing the price of things on your Bitcoin stack, you will be able to afford more things, and life gets easier because, again, just look at the screen. The price of living, the cost of your living has gone down in terms of Bitcoin by up to like 73, 71, 84%, depending how far back you've been saving, right? And these are numbers that are barely 2 years old. Here on the show, we haven't even reached a 2-year anniversary. It'll be next week, right? But that shows you that we're doing good. We're doing good. Okay. So that is the stack recap. In 2025, our average buy price is $92,429 Bitcoin. And today the price of Bitcoin is $103,000. So today we're only going to buy a $20 dollar cost average stack for today. Where's it? Allow myself to introduce myself. All right. Now that we know how much Bitcoin we're going to buy, there's only one thing left to do. It's time to stack some Bitcoin. All right. As you guys know, I like to stack over on the Swan app. No, not Swan app. I'm sorry, the Strike app. There we go. I used to stack with Swan, but now I stack with Strike. Strike. Actually, let me close this so you can see the boot up screen. Strike. Boop. Boop. There it is. We're buying $20 worth of Bitcoin. Hit next. It's ready for me to confirm. I kill the music. I ask the Stack Bitcoin show band to hit me with the drum roll, please. Drum roll. I hit confirm. And just like that, buying $20 worth of Bitcoin on the Stack Bitcoin show today, May 14th. And just like that, as simple as that, we've stacked an additional 19,104 Satoshis to the stack. Let's update the spreadsheet with today's purchase. Where's that? Right here. Today is, again, 5/14/25. And the price of Bitcoin we deserve today is $103,695.56 Bitcoin. We bought $20 worth. That's currently worth, that yield is 0.000191104 Bitcoin. 19,104 Satoshis added to the stack. And just like that, we have grown the stack a little bit more. Look at all those purchases. Dang. Okay, we'll add this one to the list. Boom. And there it is. The final total for today's episode after the purchase today is for the whole lifespan of the show. We have in our Stack Bitcoin Show bag, we have 0.364985518 Bitcoin for a current USD value of $37,793.89. Dang, we're doing good, guys. Jeez. On our way to getting to 1 Bitcoin. The goal for the show, of course, is to get to 1 Bitcoin, to stack until we get to 1 Bitcoin. So we'll be able to say that we documented the journey of going from 0 to 1 BTC. That is the goal. If you want to help us along the journey, all you gotta do is watch the show, comment, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. I appreciate every single one of you guys for showing up. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how we rock. That's how we do the show. So if you're new around here, do me a favor, hit subscribe, hit like, all that good stuff. And let's cue the music to wrap up this episode. All right. Just like that, we showed up on a Wednesday, hump day, Wings Wednesday, you might say. Stacking Bitcoin, guys. Little by little, slow and steady. DCA to BTC. DCA to BTC. Yeah, I wore the shirt yesterday, so. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of the Stack Bitcoin Show. But until then, remember, if you ain't stacking, you're slacking. Later.